There's something about the sound of the sea that feels like home. I live on the coast and I've worked in maritime industry for over 20 years. During that time, I've seen more and more women forging their careers in everything from ports to policy, from bridge to boardroom, from fishing vessels to super yachts. But let's be honest, do we hear about those stories of success? Do we know about the challenges they face and the adventures they've experienced? Well, that's where Women in Maritime comes in. In a series of open and thought-provoking conversations, I'll be bringing you these stories, and I hope you can join me. Hello, I'm Julia Gosling, and welcome to Women in Maritime. And today I'm joined by Monica Kohli. Hello, Monica. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's a delight. Thank you for having me, Julia.
Monica, I'm going to have to give just a very short outline of all your accolades and your achievements, and we can dive into that shortly. But Monica is the senior lawyer at Gard UK. She's also trustee at the Seafarers charity, and you're president of WISTA UK. You're a real champion for diversity and inclusivity as well, Monica. So I'm really pleased you could join us for this.
Thank you. It's my delight.
Great. Now, I know you're doing quite a lot in maritime at the moment. You're a very busy lady, but I'd love to know how you got into the world of maritime. Like, where did your career start? Was it something you always planned to get into, or did you find your way into maritime through another route?
So this is a question I also ask almost every maritime lawyer I meet. Because you're absolutely right. It's not something everyone's born to say, I grew up to maritime and with my dream, like doctors or, pilots or whatever. So everyone else has done a great job of championing their career. But maritime around the world doesn't seem to have done that. But for me, it was my plan from the time I can remember. So my dad was a seafarer, so he was the captain of a cargo ship. So I spent the first 5 years of my life with him and my mum sailing around the world. So I didn't go to school. My only life was on board. We came ashore, stayed with family for a few months and back on board. So the first 5 years, I didn't have a house on land. My house was the ship, whichever ship Dad was sailing on. Till he got off, I think he was sailing for 18 months pretty much nonstop, or 9 months or 8 months. This is in the 70s, right? So I came ashore at 5 when my brother was born. And then we had a house and, we went to school. But that's the only life I'd known. So all my life, I felt I was going to go to sea. That was the only thing. Like, Daddy went to sea, Papa was at sea, and I was going to go to sea. And that's it. But as I grew up in India, and I didn't see any female seafarers, so we would go to engineering colleges and have picnics with, the marine engineers and that was in the shipping industry, and he came ashore with the same company. And so we were immersed in the field of maritime. This is all I would hear at home. A lot of my cousins joined the sea. Everyone was going to sea. So I would go to sea when I was ready to have a career. But I had not seen a single female seafarer, so I had kind of imbibed. And this is the thing I think with a lot of us without realizing it, I'd imbibed that women don't go to sea because I'd never seen a female seafarer. So I thought,
yes, you had no role model to look at.
It's not even, I hadn't seen a single person. So you can't see it, you can't be it. There's a reason why that phrase exists. So I was like, okay, but I'm still going to be in the maritime industry, so it doesn't matter which path I choose. I got into law school. So I was like, okay, then I'll do maritime law. And I remember going into law school and saying, I want to be a maritime lawyer. And all my classmates are like, what is that? And then all my projects, everything was on the sea or trade or something. The subject in which I did the best was international trade law because I was interested in that. So everything is a pathway to me getting into maritime. So it doesn't matter the way. But yes, maritime is my, not calling, but is what I was always going to do. But I realized later that it's not for everyone. So it is a good question to ask always for a podcast in maritime.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I love that world that I have other friends who were able to go to sea back then, either with husbands or with parents. But that just doesn't happen anymore. But that's a real interesting route into it, isn't it? That you were living at sea, basically, in a working environment. Fascinating.
Yes, I was living it. I was breathing it. And you're right, it doesn't happen anymore. But Dad had another seafaring friend. He was ex-side, so he was in the engineering side. So Captain D'Souza, we would visit when we came ashore. And Captain D'Souza's kids became my friends. And, we went to each other's weddings. And they're also in the industry. So one of them is sailing, and the other one's was the stewardess on an airline. So everyone's kind of ended up in the industry in a way, in the travel industry in a way. So
yes. Yeah. From those beginnings of what you were seeing as you were growing up. It's interesting that you talk about not seeing any female role models at the time. Now, you moved into law and maritime. Did you face, obviously there was a very limited number of women working at sea on ships. Did you find any issues working ashore in the maritime law side of things? Were you a minority in terms of being a woman in that field?
So I like to look on the positives in everything. Yes, when I joined in 99, very much fewer women than today in the UK and in India. And I started my career in India. So when I would go to shipping parties, there would be very few women, I would say, but not really. There'd be lots of women, but mostly there'd be wives and daughters of seafarers. So I wasn't outnumbered in terms of gender, but I was outnumbered in terms of, being a professional in shipping. So everyone would just assume I was someone's daughter, which I was, and, or they're in a different capacity. So I'd have to keep re-explaining, no, I am a maritime lawyer and I'm here in my own capacity. And, but the positive of that is everyone remembers you because we're one of the few women in the room. Yes. I think that's the same thing with thing. So you take it as a positive, as in the UK, a few women in color, few women. People do remember you, and you tend to kind of stick in people's memory a bit more. Yeah, you can take it as a positive or a negative. Yes, there weren't that many women, so you have to build your clan and you have to find your way and you have to fight maybe a bit more. But, if you're not willing to fight, you can't go anywhere in life.
I love that attitude that you take it as a positive as well, as a barrier. That's really strong. And it's funny what you were just saying about being mistaken for having a different role and not having the professional role when you're the woman in the room. And it reminded me of when I was heading up a press conference at a maritime incident when I worked for the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. And it was a shipping incident, and we have a briefing before a press conference so everyone can work out what they're going to say in advance. And I was hosting it. And as everyone was coming into the room, one of the gentlemen, I was the only woman as usual in there. And one of the gentlemen asked me to get him a cup of tea. And he thought I was one of the staff, I guess, at a hotel where the press conference was going to be. So I got him his cup of tea and I didn't say anything at all until I opened and hosted the briefing.
Yeah, that's one way. So that's one way of, I think that's the thing, taking the space. I mean, there's a gracious way of doing it, there's a demanding way of doing it, and you do you, right? Do it the way you want to. Some people want to confront and make people uncomfortable and say, why did you ask me that? How could you assume? I mean, that is also fine.
Yeah.
You need to take your space. And I'm on your side. Like, I would rather graciously do it and then, prove myself later. But again, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm in a bad mood and I'll go, well, why did you assume I was a disturbing woman?
Yes, I feel like it's how is it taken, because he didn't mean it. He just wasn't thinking. He wasn't used to a woman being in that area of work, as it were. And so that was fine. It wasn't meant to be a put down in any way.
That's the thing. It's the very casual sexism and the very casual racism that I feel like if I go to sometimes when I go to events and they don't know me, they'll just say, so do you work here? It's like, no, I'm a guest. Like, I'm possibly more senior than you are. Yes. And how do you put, it still kind of pinches sometimes, and maybe more as you get older, you take it a little less.
Yes, depending on your mood.
Yeah, exactly. Also, you've done so much more. How much do you keep proving yourself? So there are days and there are times. And again, like you said, it depends on how it's meant.
Yes.
But it is a very microaggression, a very casual sexism that we have to deal with on a daily basis that men sometimes don't realize.
Yes, exactly, because it's not. And it has been very male orientated. And 25 4 years ago when I started working in maritime, when I first worked in Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, there was 2% of women working at sea then. Yeah. And there's still only 2%, if that. So we haven't really changed a lot. I just hope that maybe some of the attitudes are changing, which would be a good thing. But a lot of things seem to be still to do.
Today I saw a headline that said CMA CGM has doubled their female cadets. I was really happy to see that. I also am very happy to see there's an Indian Captain Radhika Menon, who won an award for bravery at the IMO. So there are more visible women, there are more women. Yes, the 2% isn't going up, but, Africa, India, they're making efforts to get more women in. Turkey, I think they're doing a lot. So it is... seafaring has shifted from Europe to Asia in some ways. There are more seafarers from Asia, I would say, now than earlier. I don't know the exact figures. So we have to see the growth in that area in some ways and push there and see how it goes. It's actually gone down even from 2% to, I think, during COVID. So
yes, actually, I think I did see some figures that it was under 2%. So
yeah, I also wanted to just say that WISTA keeps, and all of us keep talking about. So WISTA started a fundraising for a female cadet with the Maritime London's Officer Cadet Scheme, MLOCS. We've been doing a fundraiser for a few years to just, walk the talk kind of thing. We're talking about it, so let's start. It won't make a huge difference, but every cadet we bring forward, we feel is one more in the world. So we are trying our best also in that sense to make it happen, be the change.
Wow. So what, WISTA will fund someone to go through their cadet training?
Yes.
That's great. That's excellent. What a great start for somebody.
Yes, we'd like to think so. And, it's not easy. It's a lot of money. And we're not really a fundraising organization. So it's literally every penny. So it's not been as quick as we liked. But, it's an ongoing process.
Yes.
Nothing good is easy.
Well, yeah. And it's got some long-term legacy, right? Because that's somebody's career. And also not only that, they're being seen by other women who are...
Yeah. And mentored and helped and, networking is provided. So even, in the future where you kind of sure and you want to get a job, there's a huge network for you to kind of link into.
Well, while we're talking about WISTA, which is doing some great things, you've got over 700 members, I believe, in the UK. Why should any women join? What do they get?
You get a safe space to network, and that is not to be sneezed at. And we've seen that almost everyone who comes back for more and more events, they have a good time, they learn, they connect. For me personally, and I feel like if you even change one person's life or you can help one person, it's a good thing, right? So we don't know all the stories, but I do know that a couple of events ago, a young lady walked up to me and said, "Hi, Monica, you don't know me, right? You don't remember me." And I'm like, "No, of course I've seen your face." And she's like, "No, you don't remember me, but you introduced me to a lawyer at your event. You said, come and meet this girl. You're looking for a traineeship." And I got that traineeship. So I've now got a job because of you're introducing me to people. So I'm like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Please, can I use your story? Because there are many people who maybe have connected, made difference, but not every story comes back to us. But we do provide them with a platform with amazing women who they can talk to and bringing the person and the job together, or bring the person and the opportunity together. Or, you start on your own and you're like, can you introduce me to people who may want this role? If, for example, if you're doing training for senior people in the maritime industry, in media training, or you're starting Women in Ports, or you're starting something on your own, please ask us. We can just introduce you to lots of people who will be there for you in your time of maybe just listening. Maybe they can't give you an opportunity then, but they'll be there to listen to you, to guide you, to help you. So I think WISTA does provide that network, does provide that help, does provide that opportunity to you. So do join. But again, join if it works for you. Not everything is for everyone.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the link in the show notes as well. And it's a very positive and really welcoming and supportive network. And
thank you. Yeah, that's the aim.
Yeah, it really is. It's a good thing. And I wonder, you talked about your career starting off in legal and maritime world. You saw that there wasn't a lot of role models, well, no role models for you initially when you were right at the beginning of your career. Is that when you became passionate about, improving that situation? When did you get this passion for helping others up the ladder, as it were, other women?
So in law, I have seen lots of women. So in maritime law, there are very many pioneering women who are role models for us. So I think in the field of law, I would say that there's lots of people who have broken the glass ceiling for us to exist and grow. But in the field of maritime or seafaring, the minute I met a seafarer about my age, and I'm like, my God, you went to sea when I could have gone to sea and I didn't realize I could do it. I was just like, wow, that's amazing. I need to make sure that no other woman ever feels the way I did, that there's no female seafarer, so she can't go to sea. So now I try and showcase all our seafarers. I try and showcase maritime as much as I can, and try and make sure every woman has heard of it. I do a lot of talks on maritime also at universities, saying, look at maritime law as a career, because you may not have thought of it, or, look at going to sea. And, I was in line. I was just thinking a bit, we're all passionate about our industry, but I was in line to meet Princess Anne to get at my investiture ceremony. And, they're very charming at the palace, and everyone chats and talks to you and tells you congratulations. And, why did you get this? And there's a lady, very young lady, waiting with me before I had to go and meet Princess Anne. And I said, oh, have you thought of maritime as a career? She's like, no, but I have a young sister. And she's looking. I said, yeah, I tell her, and WISTA provides all of this. And she's like, oh, you've got one convert in me. And I thought, oh my God, I'd never let up, do I?
Exactly. You're standing there waiting to meet the royal family, and you're still recruiting, Monica. I love that.
I was just like, that's what I laughed at myself. I thought, this is ridiculous. Like, just enjoy it.
Yes.
There's so many people who haven't heard of it, and they're in London, and they're in the UK, and we're an island nation. Like, everybody should be in maritime over here, or have heard about it, or should be, involved in it.
Yes.
And most of them have never even kind of thought about it as a career.
I agree. And my daughter's 15, and so they're getting career options shown to them at school. I don't think they ever mention maritime at all. So, and obviously I tell her about it, but she's not getting it as part of the normal careers pitch at school.
This is the problem, I think. And we were trying to talk to the Guild of Educators and tell them that, why don't you help us to get it into the curriculums in school, so that everybody who's guiding the students can put forward maritime as a career. We haven't got there as yet, but we did. We were very lucky to have the Lord Mayor's wife, invite us and talk to us about it and say she'd try and connect us. And,
Excellent.
Oh, so we're getting there step by step, drip by drip.
Yes, you're getting there bit by bit. Now, tell me about your role as a trustee at the Seafarers charity, which is also an organisation I've worked with that I really respect. I know they fund a couple of £1 million worth of really worthy things with seafarers, both UK and international. So you're a trustee there, aren't you, Monica?
Yes, I'm a trustee there, and I'm very privileged to be working with them. And they do a lot with seafarers, and then they also gift a lot of charities. I think Safer with Waves is one that I've particularly been hearing a lot about, where they work with women who are at sea and all of their issues. Deborah does an amazing job there as CEO, and Paul Butterworth is the chair of the trustees. And I think that's a very effective trust, which works so strongly, has a strong base, and, hundreds of years of experience to build on.
Yes.
So,
yes, they have been around for a long time. But what I love about them is that as a charity, they're not really looking backwards, even though they've got all that heritage. They're actually really looking forwards, and they've got a real attitude to tackle difficult things. So not just symptoms, but actually interventions that are sort of structural, difficult issues that they still look at and work at, which I think is just brilliant as a charity.
Yeah, they do an incredible job, a lot of hard work, and it's incredible. I was also going to mention one more thing. I'm also chair of the Indian Maritime Association in the UK. So we do a lot of building bridges between India and UK also. It's the same diversity kind of structure, but we work with, the High Commission here and, the Director General of Shipping in India, provide a networking for seafarers from the Indian community in the UK. So it kind of falls into the same diversity picture, but I know it kind of links in nicely with my WISTA role in a way, but it doesn't have as big a profile or as big a network. So just thought I'd mention that as one of the things I do also.
Yes, yeah, thank you. You have quite a lot of roles, Monica.
I know, but it's terrible. But I mean, they've been going for 40 years also, but in a very kind of different, lower profile. I think because we don't have the same cadet building role there. We provide more of a network for students and senior professionals in that role. But I just thought I'd mention that since you kind of brought in one of my different roles also. So
yeah, and is that helping connect students that are perhaps moving here to the UK to study, for example, away from home and going into new careers? Do you help people with that?
Yes, it's students, but it's also an opportunity for seafarers to connect. So maritime professionals and seafarers just connect, because quite often you move, you don't know each other, so you come in and you play the network for you to kind of, talk to everyone else. So
yes, that's a really positive thing, and can be very, let's say lonely.
Yeah.
Can be lonely, like moving and working, and also being on board ships where you're basically with a small number of people. Let's be honest. So connecting with a bigger network of people, it can be really positive.
Yeah.
Now, you tell me about, you mentioned that you have met Princess Anne, you received an OBE. Was that for work in maritime, Monica?
Yeah, work with the WISTA, with IMA and all the work I do.
Lovely. Well, congratulations for that. They don't hand them out for little things. So it's nice that your work was recognised over the years.
I'm very privileged and honoured, actually. It is, you're right. It isn't given easily, and I really treasure that. So,
yeah, congratulations on that. Now, talking about diversity and inclusion, I've also looked at this as a couple of episodes on my Sea Views podcast, and we actually talked about the whole diversity and inclusion issue, not just ladies, women, but different sexual orientations, also neurodiversity, and just basically all about making really diverse teams. And that isn't something that just should be done, but that it's actually also good for business because you have better, more productive teams. Do you believe that? Is that because you've also got your business side of your life and your legal, if you like, insurance side of your life that you work in? Do you believe that it is good for business actually making better, diverse teams?
Absolutely. I do think that the more voices you have in the room, the more differences you have in the room, I think the more progressive and the more developed your business will be, because you've already been challenged at every stage. So the world is changing. It's becoming a smaller network. And of course, there are hiccups everywhere, but the world is becoming smaller. So if you're not ready to deal with different cultures, different challenges, different, ways of thinking, you are not going to progress. I think that is a reality. I think everywhere.
I think it's also, you wouldn't make a team with just everyone exactly the same. You wouldn't people complementing each other's strengths. So I do really see it as not just that it could affect bottom line, really improve.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a study by, I can't remember who, so I won't mention any names, but they have done some studies on the financial or the effect of diversity on the bottom line. So I don't have the figures at hand, but I will look up the study and I'll send you a link.
Yes, thank you. And I'll pop that in because I would like to signpost to that. That would be very interesting. Now, I think it might be fun to have a quick fire round of questions, Monica, which you may choose to answer or not.
Okay.
Up to you. What was your best day at work in maritime?
Oh, maybe when I went to the palace. I think that I can say. That's quite a special day. And to have my parents there, have my family there, it was really nice. Yeah. And that was my best day. Yeah. And the sun shone and it was July and, it was...
It must have been a perfect day and not anything you'd have ever thought would happen when you started out.
Oh, not a chance and not a chance. It's also very poignant for me because I lost my dad a couple of months ago. And I remember when we were walking into Buckingham Palace, he's like, Monica, who would have thought that we were walking to Buckingham Palace, and, through the front gates. And he was just so happy and proud. And I was so happy that we had that day together. So, yeah, it was I think it was the best day. And all my friends came around and afterwards, and, you know, we had a champagne afternoon. It was lovely.
Lovely. And you recruited somebody else into maritime in the queue.
I did go back now, so did you understand?
Yeah, brilliant. Now, that was your best day, but what's your biggest fail? Do you want to tell me? Will you tell me?
I actually think my biggest fail, but again, you know, thousands of time and you go down and you are who you are because of the choices you make. But I think my biggest fail is that despite not having any female role models, I could have said, well, I want to go to sea. And I should have gone to sea. Again, you don't know how it would have turned out, but my fail is not maybe researching more or finding out more and fighting more. Yeah. It's not a regret, but I would say it's a fail, as in I did not do enough research and I didn't know enough.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That you feel that potentially there could have been another pathway there, but you didn't know existed.
Exactly. So I feel like, yeah, I think that's a fail that I didn't follow that. Yeah. I'll look, find it.
Yeah, that there was, I mean, you just, like you said, you never saw anyone else, any other women. You didn't even know that was an option at the time when you were young.
Yeah. So, again, and not that I regret any of my decisions. I am where I am because of them. It would be a different Monica, and you'd be maybe not knowing of me or interviewing a different Monica. Or
Well, that leads on nicely to the other question I was going to ask you is you are very confident in your point of your career now. You're also helping other people. But going back to, say, 18-year-old Monica, what would you say to her now? Do you have some advice for her?
You know, we were just discussing this yesterday, so actually it's quite nice. And a lot of girls around me said yesterday, in fact, that I would tell my younger self, you're very pretty and you're very thin. Don't worry, don't diet, don't worry. And I think that's it sounds very superficial, but we're also insecure when you are young and you don't realize how pretty you are, how lovely you are, and how slim you are, even though you don't conform to the times. But I think women get a lot of those pressures and we're always trying to better ourselves and always trying to make ourselves prettier. I think and you reach the stage and you're confident in how you look and you're happy and, you know, you're okay with it. But when you're 18, you're so insecure. And I'd like to tell 18-year-old, hey, you're pretty, you're very pretty. Don't worry, you know, you'll be fine. And I think that's one thing. And don't worry, everything will work out.
Yeah. And also, definitely, we would tell ourselves, our 18-year-old selves, your skin was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my skin wasn't, but yeah, it doesn't matter. Those things are minor, right? So,
yeah.
You are, but I don't think we can believe that at 18. So I don't think even if I went back, if I had a time traveler and I went back and I told my 18-year-old self, I don't think she would listen. And I don't think any 18-year-old will listen even today. So it's fine. And we can keep saying it. But maybe one 18-year-old will, and that's fine.
Yeah, because 18-year-olds know everything, right? Mine does. I can't tell her anything. So in terms of the future, what have you got any hopes for the future in maritime? Anything you'd desire?
So I would like to see more women in senior positions. I'd like to see more women CEOs. I mean, when you're counting and we're trying to get CEOs at our events, we are like, oh, okay, there's like one here and there's one there. And, you know, I think I would like to see more women in senior positions. I think the ceilings are being broken, but it's still not like crashed open as easily. I think women have to be better than men to be where they are. I think I'd like to see a place where women are as good or as bad as the next man.
Yeah,
so I think that is my hope. That's it. You just looked at it as just another person and you don't have to prove yourself over and over again.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, that it will also then show a route for other women at other stages in their career as well, to see leaders and say, I could be like that.
Yeah, and the reality is you do become an ambassador for your whole sex in a way of, oh, she's done, women don't do this. Yeah, it's just one person. When a man does something, they don't say, oh, you know, men can't do this. Well, sometimes you do, but, you know, you do tend to become ambassadors. And that's a lot of pressure along with everything else.
Yes. Yes, it is. Quite a lot to put on the shoulders, yeah. Especially while you're breaking through that glass ceiling.
And you're doing everything in. And then I have had women tell me that, you know, look, I don't want to come to WISTA. I don't believe in WISTA. I don't want to join WISTA. And I don't think it's for me. And I'm like, absolutely. Because something happened that made you feel like this was not a network for you. And you're doing really well in your career. So well done. You're succeeding in the way you want. Not everybody has to follow the path that I won't. And I do not, and seriously say this to all the women who listen to this, please don't feel that there is any pressure to join WISTA. Come when you can, do what you can. And if you don't want to, that's also fine. Be yourself. Like, be happy and do your life and live it as you want. Everything is a pathway for everyone.
Oh, I love that. It's so positive. It's been such a pleasure talking with you, Monica, and you have some real positive attitudes and you are doing a lot as well in maritime. So thank you for chatting with me and for joining us on Women in Maritime. It's been very nice having you.
If your brand belongs in the heart of the yachting world, this is where it happens. Yachting International Radio reaches over 1 million yachting professionals and enthusiasts every month with 77 million impressions, 220,000 social followers, and 74,000 podcast subscribers. Our hosts are insiders, crew, captains, CEOs, trusted voices shaping the industry. This is targeted, high-impact advertising in a luxury niche. Visit yachtinginternationalradio.com/advertise. Your audience is already listening.